I think Paul Nicholson would have got a better reception if it had been introduced as being from Newcastle rather than Melbourne. He's only been over there 3 years or so, but he sounds like he's really taken it to heart with the Land Down Under walk-on music. Anyway, your commentary team, Dave Lanning and Stuart Pike.
I think Paul Nicholson was actually expecting to be booed to the stage, as he was in his other appearance here in the UK in Wolverhampton a month or so ago. But a real character and a real emerging talent, Paul Nicholson, only 29. And 4 years he's been in Australia with his Australian wife, and really playing the best darts of his life against a young man who has promised so much but really hasn't delivered.
Yes, there's Adrian Gray. Looks like a refugee from a boy band. In fact, he's got his own pin-up calendar just out this Christmas. Not many dart players can say that, Stuart. And Paul Nicholson, as you say, played over here in the Grand Slam of darts. He beat the much-vaunted Gary Anderson too, I recollect, in one of the qualifying matches. Nicholson, Aussie from Newcastle. He's got a voice of cross between Paul Gascoigne and Crocodile Dundee, but he's the Aussie #1, and that means he is no mug. And this boy Gray has also had a notable scalp in the quarterfinals of the World Grand Prix, I reckon. Being first set. So we've got two young, precocious talents, and it's Nicholson with the darts.
Yeah, just watch out for Paul Nicholson as this game goes on. A real character, oozes self-confidence, really enjoys himself. And Adrian Gray will have a real scrap on his hands here. The winner, by the way, will take on Adrian Lewis, so plenty to play for.
Could say it's a young gun segment of the draw in this particular area. But Nicholson looks a good technician and temperamentally very sound.
59.
There is his family party.
Well, Nicholson has won
41.
20 events in Australia over the last couple of years, and justifiably the #1 down under, certainly on the PDC side of things, and
100.
he'll get into this game, and when he does, his 180 scoring is really good. As you mentioned, Dave, it's the classic dart thrower's throw.
Adrian Gray, a much more straight arm release, as you can see from our pictures there. Russell Bray suffering a bit with the lurgy this week, but still in fine gravel voice glory.
Adrian's mum.
And another familiar young face beside that's young Matthew Deller, Keith Deller's lad, who I am reliably informed is a useful player himself.
You require 142.
Beats his dad regularly, I'm told.
Wow.
It's a good second dart from Nicholson.
Right, having a look at it, might be Trevor 18s or 14s. Let's have a look.
110.
Leaving himself double 60, and as we thought, and in fact as we knew, Nicholson is a considerable talent.
Yeah, only 29 years of age.
Require 32.
Geordie boy.
Game shot.
Can throw a dart as well. So it's a really good, competent, professional opening leg from Paul Nicholson.
Yes, and Nicholson has been telling us that such is the appeal of the PDC that he's thinking of settling here. A number of Australians, we are told, are thinking along similar lines, including Simon Whitlock. And you can see when he's getting darts like this that the lure and the attraction and indeed the money that's on offer in the PDC circuit in this country now is really a carrot for these guys.
Well, Nicholson has Russell Stewart in the middle, and Warren French, the Kiwi, to his right, supporting Paul Nicholson. He's certainly thinking of giving it a go on the PDC circuit in 2009. He's talking to one or two potential sponsors, always open to offers, of course, but he works for the government in Melbourne, the Victorian government, and they've been good enough to give him a 12-month sabbatical to follow his passion for darts. An early release of Adrian Gray, that's where Flight Cam 1000 really comes into its own. You can see how early or not the darts are released.
And with that early release, as those pictures so graphically showed us, the dart stays almost horizontal. Other players, the dart takes off almost vertically like a Harrier jet.
Well, we saw with Flight Cam 1000 last night, Chris Mason's dart, virtually at 90 degrees as it leaves the hand.
In fact, when you look at it like that, you could hardly believe he's thrown it.
Well, this is a really good start from Paul Nicholson. Possible 13 darter against the throw, putting the pressure on Adrian Gray here. Has to get this. So Nicholson will be back for a 2-0 lead, and crucially the first break of throw of this match. Impressive so far.
Oh yes, he's a cool dude. Nicholson looking at double top for 2-love in the first set. Best of 5, we should remind you, and that's good finishing.
Linda, his wife.
To throw first. Game on.
He was well known up in the northeast for quite a few years. Played county darts for Northumberland over 50 times. But I think he's found his game and is happy with himself in Australia. And he said that over there, the DPA, the dart players of Australia, they make it fairly easy for them, give them lots of encouragement, and for all the travelling they have to do across the country, when Nicholson's winning the amount of tournaments that he has been winning. Another 140.
Oh, there we have some really super old visitors there, Chelsea pensioners. Could be Sid Waddell and I in a couple of years.
100.
Well, 100 at the moment isn't enough for Gray. Nicholson averaging 106.5, only in the third leg, but a full 22 points better than Adrian Gray. Is it going to be the first maximum? For 5 140s in the first 3 legs.
Yeah, this guy can play a bit. He is a real threat, not just to Adrian Gray, but on this whole championship. We have a new star rising in the north of London.
I'll tell you what, Dave, if Adrian Gray doesn't get his act together, this could be over very, very quickly. Great last start again from the Aussie to leave tops. And his finishing has been perfection as well. Yep. 2 out of 2.
Hasn't missed one. 100%, averaging 107. And these are staggering figures. It's a very early market sample, it must be said. But now, Nicholson for a whirlwind opening set.
Well, that's a good marker. Should be in this time. Well, he can't believe it, can he?
No, and Adrian Gray has left himself on a bogey finish, so Nicholson knows he'll be back. Double top for the set. Just the first glitch in his presentation, and he certainly rectifies that. And that's an impressive opening set, Nanda. And that, indeed, Stuart, is a very well-known group of male strippers that rival the Chippendales who normally play in Las Vegas. There's information for you.
I bow to your knowledge and your taste. We talked a lot about Paul Nicholson, not so much about Adrian Gray, but this is poor. You have to say, by his standards, and I'm pretty sure he'd agree with my summing up of his display so far. He just hasn't been able to get into this game. We remember that famous win over Taylor, 14 months ago in Dublin. The victory which really shot Adrian Gray to prominence and opened up his name to a wider audience. Believe it or not, that's only his second 180, or 140 rather, of this match, and we've seen 6 so far from Paul Nicholson.
Well, we look like we've got some demolition workers in the crowd, but it's Nicholson who's doing the demolition job on Gray up there on stage. He is impressive. Interesting, really, Stuart. Born in Newcastle, most Geordies who go down under go, in fact, to that part of the world in Australia, to Newcastle, New South Wales, up there on the central coast, which is an incredible place where they have collieries and coal mines and palm trees in the car park, which you don't see in County Durham.
Well, lived in Blythe for many years, Paul Nicholson. Cheering on Blythe Spartans, who have done really well in the FA Cup this year.
Shouldn't mention that to a southerner like me. Here's another southerner, and he's under siege as well. Adrian Gray. Don't know where he's going to find the necessarily power to hang on to this kid.
That was much better, wasn't it, from Gray?
Yeah.
It really was. Whether it will make any difference or not, it remains to be seen. Is it going to be 4 consecutive legs? Absolutely fabulous. There's nothing that Adrian Gray can do about this. Paul Nicholson with an average of 107. And if he does go on to win this, watch out Adrian Lewis, that's all I can say.
Just looking at Nicholson, Stuart, he has that cold eye look of a killer gunslinger, doesn't he? He really is a cool character, and we're going to have to watch for this lad. He can make a big impact on this Ladbrokes World Championship.
Interesting, you had a 2.5-hour practice session with Jelle Klassen last night before Klassen went on and demolished Colin Lloyd, losing only 1 leg, and Klassen afterwards came up and thanked Nicholson for the practice, and it seems to have done him just as much as it did to Klassen.
So Adrian Gray, his best world championship, the second round a couple of years ago. Last year he was beaten by Mark Walsh, and he actually beat Ronnie Baxter, I recall, in 07. So he's been rubbing shoulders with some of the more seasoned professionals.
27 years of age, Adrian Gray, number 27 in the world.
59.
Same age, same ranking. Nicholson, the qualifier, if indeed he spends a concerted period over in this country, it will be interesting to see just how quickly he accelerates up the rankings. Gray is rallying bravely.
Has to, yeah. Upped his average around about 6 points, 92.5 now, but Nicholson's still over the 100. Is this going to be the first one? He's threatened on many occasions. But 8 140s from Paul Nicholson in 5 legs of darts, and you know, forget the maximums. Keeps hitting 140s like that, Gray will struggle to hang on his coattails.
Looking at Nicholson, 142 is by no means beyond him.
Oh, he needs tops again for a 142. Fantastic! Paul Nicholson is on fire. 100 finish to win the first leg, and a 142. That was simply sizzling.
It was not far short of mind-boggling. An unusual way, well, not really, not unusual to him.
41.
But whatever Adrian Gray seems to produce, this guy seems to trump him, and Gray really must be a worried kid up there.
Well, still a fair way to go.
60.
104 average and 5 out of 8 on the checkouts. 9 140s in 5 legs of darts, including that fantastic checkout.
It was a good checkout, wasn't it? 2 treble 17s, we remind you,
45.
and double top for 142. And this lad clearly is a pretty cute counter as well.
100.
Great last dart again from Nicholson. Adrian Gray has had a rough and tough year at his best performance. If I remember rightly, the quarterfinals in Las Vegas when he was beaten by Phil Taylor.
58.
But no consistency, no rhythm, no range.
Well, it's understandable that he's a little bit disillusioned, because he has produced some good darts, but whatever he has produced and whenever he's manoeuvred himself into position to strike, Nicholson is hitting with the Sunday punch. 10 140s already. We're only in the 3rd leg of the 2nd set.
59.
There's nothing there at the moment, is there, for Adrian Gray? Of course, if Paul Nicholson wins this, it guarantees himself at least £8,000, and if he is thinking about having a real crack at the PDC Tour in 2009, that will help, as will some sponsorship. If he carries on playing like this, the sponsors will be knocking at his door, Dave.
101, and we know that this is by no means beyond his capabilities. '16s now is the shot.
85.
And well, we saw this earlier today, this 158 finish. But can Adrian Gray? And Gray needs to do something to open his account. Otherwise, Nicholson will gallop off over the horizon like a bush cowboy.
Paul, you require 16.
For 6 consecutive legs and a 2-set lead.
That's the Pathfinder. That's another one. Got to come down the bed. Overcompensated. So at least Gray now has an opportunity to gain a crumb here, to keep a lifeline open. 100 the shot. Oh, where's that? Well, I might go double top. And whatever he went for there, it wasn't very effective. And now Nicholson still finishing at 45% success rate, looking at double 8 for 2 zip.
Well, this has been a majestic,
a new star, you should say, for another Shepherd to follow.
Kirk Shepherd, last year's World Championship finalist. As Nicholson hits his 10th 140, 11 in all, courtesy of a brilliant 142 checkout. But 6 consecutive legs for Nicholson. Gray hasn't even got close to a dart and a double.
No, and Nicholson has the darts here. And this is a very, very impressive reminder to not just Adrian Gray, but I should think that's Adrian Lewis, another AD waiting for the winner of this one. We'll be looking at this slender fellow and thinking, oh, word, I've got the Tasmanian devil by the tail here.
Well, the Nicholson Klassen practice regime is working wonders. Support inside the Ali Pali. Klassen dropped just 1 leg in thrashing Colin Lloyd last night, and so far as another 140 goes in from Nicholson, this is relentless. The Australian hasn't dropped a single leg. I think Klassen and Nicholson may be practicing together after Christmas.
100. Hole you require 121.
Treble 17 again. He's going instead for treble 20. Now surely he'll come for 17 and go back up for 60.
57.
Bit of time. And Gray back on, as you can see, 218.
I really don't know what Adrian Gray could do in these circumstances, because
98.
whatever he's tried,
Hole you require
nothing's
64.
come off, and there's been no consistency. The scoring has been well below par. Double 8 for a 7th consecutive leg.
Terrific.
James on the
Simply
first
terrific.
leg.
And
Second
little
leg,
wonder
it's Adrian to throw first.
his family group are really having a very early Christmas goodie in this performance, and you have to sympathise with Gray. Look at those averages. I mean, Gray at 88 is decent enough, 87, but he just simply hasn't had a sniff here.
Well, here he goes again, Paul Nicholson. He's had so many attempts for a 180. He'll settle for a 140. 12 140s in this match, in 8 legs of darts.
And you have to admit, if he continues in this vein, and it might only be for another couple of legs,
99.
this would rank as one of the outstanding first-round performances. I think Andy Hamilton impressed, so of course did Barneveld. Phil Taylor was Phil Taylor, but not at his peak. But this guy could end up with as high an average as anybody.
43.
If it is to be Nicholson, that's one game that I will certainly look forward to after the Christmas break. In the second round, Nicholson against Adrian Lewis.
60.
Wow. 60, just nowhere near good enough. A rare poor first dart from Paul Nicholson. We've seen that very frequently
58.
during this match, that his first dart drops awkwardly under the treble 20 bed.
This is the first leg for some time where Gray actually has a lead, albeit a narrow one, at this point of the leg.
43.
We talked about all the tournaments that Nicholson's won in Australia, but for the first time this year, the PDC took a proper Players' Championship event down under in the summer in August, and Nicholson got to the final and gave Robert Thornton a real run for his money before losing. So the seeds have been sown over the last 12 or 18 months, and they're coming to fruition here.
The seeds have been scattered here too this week. Over the weekend here at Alexandra Palace, we've lost so many big names, including the title holder. And just thinking about all the seeds we've lost, Stuart, we've also lost most of our most emotive walk-ons. So I'm quite sure we'll be thinking up some new anthems as these new stars. Nicholson, as you rightly say, could be one of them, and the other guy you mentioned, Rob Thornton, he's emerging. New faces here.
Is Adrian Gray going to get a dart and a double? He's hit a single 3. Needs the 25 to leave the ball. Wow. This has been one of the worst performances we've seen from Adrian Gray in a major TV event, and sadly for him, it's come in the biggest tournament of them all.
Well, I think being a little bit Christmas brutal there, he really hasn't been given the opportunity to play, has he? He's averaging 86, but he hasn't had a shot at a double. He's just been overwhelmed by this performance from Nicholson. And now double top to go one leg away from victory. Oh.
Game shot in the second leg.
8 consecutive legs for Paul Nicholson. Is the world number 27 going to be on the end of humiliating whitewash here at the World Championship? Nicholson here, averaging 100, throwing for the match.
So close to the treble 20 on both sides of the wire.
That's his worst start to a leg in the match.
Quite amazing. He's just dropped under 100, Nicholson, on his average, and yet to record a 180. But look at that, 13 140s and 12 ton pluses. There it is, the table.
45.
And that 140 column is the reason why Nicholson only needs one more leg for a place in the second round. Gray here has a chance
59.
to win a leg, maybe. It's the perfect dart for Nicholson to put another one in the treble.
140.
Ton 40, number 13 in 9 legs of darts. Oh, in the little matter of a 1-4-2 finish, of course.
60.
And Nicholson has regained the lead here.
There's that perfect dart again. One in the treble.
90.
Well, that treble will do. Really impressive darting display from the man from Melbourne,
60.
Paul Nicholson, who is arrowing in on a whitewash of the world number 27.
Treble 16 ought to be his dart.
136.
How good has this been?
Well, it has been very good. And all the top names left in this championship will surely be aware of Paul Nicholson.
All you require, 48.
If he continues in the vein he has shown throughout this match, it will be all over. With these next 2 darts, double 16 down the bed. It is wide open.
16.
Away.
Well, 2 darts missed for the match.
82.
Adrian Gray hasn't had a single dart at a double. He's surely going to get one here. For the first time in the match, he has a dart at a double to win a leg.
42.
But here comes Paul Nicholson to complete a fabulous day at the office.
It has indeed been, and the coup de grace is in the target. Adrian Gray looks completely devastated as